Hello, welcome to our workshop today on Now is the Perfect Time for a Fixed Operations Reboot. Dealer Pro Training has been in business for 20 years and helped over 1,000 RV, trailer, and auto dealerships increase their gross profits, customer retention, and employee satisfaction. By implementing proven processes and better communication skills, most of our dealers increased their service and parts gross profits over 30% this year. My name is Ken Barnes, and I'm the Director of Sales. I have spent 38 years in the RV trailer industry, first as a technician, then shop foreman, and ultimately fixed operations director for a large dealer organization, overseeing 300 employees, grossing over $1 million per month in fixed ops. Today, I will share with you what some of the top dealers are doing in service and parts to grow their business and prepare for 2021. Recently, in speaking with multiple trailer dealers, trailer sales are up over last year. Service and parts are picking up, but lagging behind, mostly due to COVID-19. Service and parts typically follow sales trends. With trailer sales booming, you can expect the next couple of years to be busy in service. Are you going to be one of those dealers who sit back and react to the increased business, or will you be proactive so that you can maximize gross profits and customer retention? I'll go ahead and apologize now. My internet connection is slow, and so therefore my voice might not be keeping up with the screens as well as the transition. So apologize in advance for that. With that being said, let's get on with the workshop. Now is the perfect time for a fixed ops reboot. And we'll switch over to screen sharing as soon as it pulls up. Again, sorry for the delay. Finally, sorry about that. And I promise you it shouldn't be this bad once I can get this going. All right. So course objectives. We want to reboot your service and parts operation post-COVID. Increase sales and gross profits. This first example, we're going to be talking about a shop of 3 technicians. We're going to be talking about how important technician efficiency and or productivity, whichever term you prefer to use, how important it is per week and how much gross profit is generated in your service and parts department. So in this example, we're looking at a technician efficiency of 50% per week. That means when he works a 40-hour week, he's producing 20 billable hours for you. At a $100 labor rate, that equals $2,000 in labor sales. At this particular store, the labor margin is 60%. What that means is you take what you sold an hour's worth of their time for, which in this case was $100, minus the technician's wages, which is your cost of sale, and that equals the margin. You might say, well, no, wait a minute, Ken, that's $40 an hour. Well, the reason it's $40 an hour is the technician's actually getting paid $20 per clock hour, but since he's only 50% efficient, we're actually paying out $40 per billable hour. It's very, very important that you understand that. So technician's efficiency has a huge impact on labor margin, which is ultimately going to impact what we are paying out to our technician per billable hour. So again, back to this example, we're generating $2,000 a month in labor sales minus what we paid our technician of $800 is going to equal $1,200 in gross profit produced. Parts to labor ratio at 90%, which means for every $2,000 in parts sales, 90% of that will be $2,000 of labor sales generated will equal $1,800 of parts sales generated at a 30.1% margin. And by the way, our benchmark is to be at 45%, but this particular store was at a 30.1% margin. which equals $542. Total gross profit per week for this technician is $1,742. With 4.2 weeks in the month, his gross per month is $6,967. In this shop, we have 3 technicians, and with 3 technicians, we're going to be generating a total apologize about that. Again, my video cut out on us. Let's go back up here. So in my first level of business plan, we're going to increase technicians' efficiency from 50% to 62.5, which means he produced 5 more billable hours for a total of 25 at $100 an hour equals $2,500 in labor sales. The labor margin now goes up and produces $1,700 in gross profit. Parts sales also go up to $2,250. Parts margin we're going to increase to 35%, and we do that through a good parts matrix. But keep in mind that 40% is our ultimate goal. Parts gross profit now increases to $788 for a total of $2,488 per technician per week, and times 4.2 weeks equals $9,950 per tech. It's an increase of $2,983 times 3 technicians gives us an increase of $8,948 in parts and labor gross, just by increasing tech productivity 5 hours and increasing labor margin to 35%. Annualized, it equates to $107,381. Let's go up to our second level. In second level, our hours produced now go up to 30 per week, which gives us technician efficiency of 75%. A $100 labor rate gives us $3,000 in labor sales, $2,199 in labor gross, $1,013 in parts gross, for a total of $12,846 per week per tech. It's a gross profit increase of $5,879 per tech, for a total gross profit improvement of $17,636, or an annualized gross profit improvement of $211,637. Now, our top performer, and this is ultimately what we're shooting for in each store that we go into, we're looking to have technician efficiency at 100%, which means they work 40 hours and they generate 40 billable hours. By doing so, our labor sales now go up to $4,000, labor gross $3,200, parts sales $3,600, parts gross $1,440, for a total per tech per month of $18,650. And I want to compare that back to what the store is doing before any of the improvements. $6,967 per week up to $18,560 per week. That is an increase of $11,593 in gross profit per technician. We have 3 technicians. That is $34,778 increase in gross per month. Annualized out, that equals $417,341, all on a 3 technician shop. You can add in 1 more technician. If your shop's got 6 technicians, you can double these numbers. The very important thing to take away from this exercise is how much technician productivity or efficiency is going to impact your gross profit per month. So my question to you is that our technicians and also even service advisors that generate gross profits, are they an expense or are they a gross profit revenue generator for you? Well, obviously, they're gross profit revenue generators. So driving service appointments and sales after COVID. We want to implement a courtesy multi-point inspection. And why is that? Well, a courtesy multi-point inspection is going to provide a safe and reliable trailer to each customer. How do we do that? Every trailer that comes in for service, we want to go over and do basically a free or courtesy inspection on that unit and advise the customer of our findings. We want to check things like tires, wheel bearings, brakes, and so forth on there to ultimately find out, are there anything that we need to suggest to that customer so that they can have a safe and reliable trailer. That is going to help us grow customer retention. When customers take a trailer into most facilities, they do not perform any type of an inspection like this. So therefore, if you do perform this inspection, you're setting yourself apart from the other stores. In addition to increasing customer retention, it's also going to increase sales. Because if we do these inspections on the unit and then advise the customer of what we found during that inspection, ultimately, a lot of those customers will go ahead and buy the additional work. So therefore, we actually increase sales on each trailer that's coming into our store. Service menus also are going to increase sales as well as improve retention. What's a service menu? A service menu is something that we have that is printed up. It can be emailable, and so that we can show and tell our customers what types of preventative maintenance needs to be performed on their trailers based upon time. Some items will need to be performed yearly, some every other year, some every 3 years. We have found, though, by having a good service menu in place and presenting that to each customer using features and benefits to build value, will definitely increase sales as well as increase customer satisfaction, because we're giving those customers information and letting them decide on what works best for them. So why do you need a phone process and service? According to J.D. Power and Associates, for every 5 service phone calls, 1 results in appointment, 1 is calling on the status. The other 3 are calling for information, calling and asking questions like, well, how much does it cost to get my wheel bearings packed or to replace the tires on my trailer? And or, is my trailer still under warranty? Or how long is it going to be before I can get my trailer in so that you can work on it? By having a good phone process in place, we have found that these are opportunity calling, right? So by a good phone process in place, we have been able to increase repair order count. What would happen to your repair order count if you converted just 1 information call into an appointment? So remember, we got 3 out of 5 calls are for information. If we can convert just 1 of those into an appointment, our appointments double. What we have found is that we don't always double appointments in stores. However, we have found that we're usually able to increase appointments by 10 to 20% in most stores by a good phone script. So make certain you take the time and do some training with whoever it is that's on the phone, talking to your customers, and let's go through it, have phone scripts, increase our number of service appointments. Impact of customer retention on sales. I want to share this information with you. This is actually automotive related, but I'm not aware of anyone out there who has done this for either trailers or the RV industry. So I want to share this slide to emphasize the importance with you on customers and their experience with your service department and how that will influence them buying another trailer from your store. So 18.4% of customers who had no service in your service department will come back and buy another trailer. Only 18%, because they didn't experience your service department. 35.6% of people will come back and buy another trailer from you who have had some service work performed. 47.4% who have had service work within the last 30 days will come back and buy another trailer from you. But the ultimate goal is 76% who have had all their service work performed at your dealer will come back and buy another trailer from you. As I mentioned earlier, this is an automotive slide. However, I cannot help but think the impact will be very similar in the trailer industry. So it's hugely important to get that customer to come into your store and experience your service department. And obviously, we want it to be a positive experience so that they continue to come back, get all their services performed, therefore having them come back and buy another trailer from you when it's time. Industry opinions on preparing for the future. First, we need to get better at what we already own. Let's utilize the features of our CRM, the various equipment that we have available to us, our reporting capabilities, as well as sign up for training from vendors. Let's get better at what we already own. What I found in most stores, they're not even getting close to utilizing all the features, especially of their CRM. Let's create a plan now for keeping these new practices in place long term. Some of the things to actually get put in place is disinfecting. And I have some stores say, well, Ken, to most of my customers, disinfecting is not a big deal. I will tell you, however, to some customers, it is a big deal as well as to some employees. So we at Dealer Pro feel it's very important to think about how we're going to disinfect our facility as well as the interaction that we're going to have with that customer when they bring their units in for service. Next, do you offer a pickup and delivery service? Some stores are doing this. The stores that do have found that it increases their sales per repair order significantly, in addition to increasing the number of repair orders. Now, obviously, it's going to involve some of your employees going to their customers to pick up these trailers, so there is added expense. But most stores that are doing this have found that they more than pay for that added expense through the increased sales. Online scheduling. Do you have an online scheduling platform on the internet and make it available for customers so that we can actually do a schedule? New service drive processes. Now that we are post-COVID, what are we doing out there to actually make things safe for our customers when they come in for service? Don't shut off marketing. We need to tie sales and service together in our marketing to bring in high-value customers. Use video, Zoom, and Skype with service customers. Multiple dealers out there now are utilizing video and service to actually show the customer what they have found wrong with their unit, along with explaining what it is and why it's important that it be replaced. The stores that are utilizing this service have found that their sales have gone up significantly. It allows that customer to see specifically what they're talking about. Digital capability is here. Crisis has proven its value. You need to adopt to it. Performance-based pay plans for all service and parts personnel. We are huge believers in compensating to motivate. Let's first talk about hourly technicians and have a pay incentive on hours produced. So I'm going to run through a sample pay plan for hourly techs. In this example, we're going to have an hourly based compensation of $16 per hour. We're going to have a performance bonus. This bonus is added to the hourly base compensation. It's based on the number of flat rate hours or billable hours, whatever you prefer to use, turned per week as shown. So in this example, this technician at this store was averaging 25 hours a week. We wanted to put a bonus in place for him so that when he produced 30 to 34.9 hours per week, he would get $2 more added to his hourly base compensation. When he produced 35 to 39.9, he would get $4 added to his hourly compensation, and so forth, 40 to 44.9, $6, and 45 plus up to $8. Let me show you now exactly how that impacted a technician's pay as well as the store's gross profit produced. So here's our technician. His hourly rate is $16. He works a 40-hour week. That means our weekly pay for this technician is $640. With him producing 25 hours a week, his productivity is 63% when he works a 40-hour week. The shop rate is $95. That technician will produce $2,375 minus the $640 that we pay him gives us gross profit of $1,735, leaving us a gross profit margin of 73.1. Now let's look how that's impacted with the bonus plan. So by the first level of bonus plan, by adding $2 for each hour worked, so our rate is $18 an hour. He worked 40 hours. We're going to pay him $720. So that technician got an $80 pay raise by producing 5 more billable hours. Only 5, and he got an $80 pay raise. Again, our $95 an hourly rate produces $2,850. That is a $425 increase in sales produced, additional sales, gross profit of $2,130. It is almost a $400 increase in gross, and our gross profit margin goes up to 74.7 merely by producing 5 more billable hours. Now here's the important takeaway. We paid out an additional $80 to the tech. However, after we paid the tech that additional $80, our gross went up to $2,130, which was an increase of $395 increase in gross after we paid our technician. Let's now go through and let's look at our next level. We now are paying our technician $20 per hour because he produced 35 billable hours for us. Sales go up to $33.25, gross goes up to $25.25, and margin goes up to 75.9%. We have 2 more levels, one at 40 hours produced and one at 45. And let's just look at the 40. So he works 40 hours and he produces 40 billable hours. This technician, now hourly rate of $22 per hour, which paid him $880 more per week. So from $640 to $880. Looks like $240 in my book per week. What did it get the dealership? $3,800 in sales versus $2,375. Gross profit, $2,920 versus $1,735. That is right at a $1,200 increase in gross. So an hourly technician pay plan is a big deal. I will talk more about that later on in our presentation. Now let's talk about service advisors. And for stores who have service advisors, you should do this calculation. If you have a service manager, then you can back into this calculation as well. But we want to go through and let's look at total labor and parts sales generated last year. Let's look at an entire year. Let's go through and look at what our total labor sales were, in other words, parts and labor together. And let's go through and look at total compensation. So for all service advisors and or service manager, if you don't have an advisor, they should equal out to 5% of sales. So if you do the math in this particular store, we paid out $124,800 in compensation to our advisors. They generated $2,496,900 in repair order sales, and that equals 5%. This is a good benchmark. You should do the math in your store to see how your numbers compare. Because ultimately, if you're paying out 8% of sales, 10% of sales to either your service advisors and or your service manager, if he's the only one who's writing repair orders, your compensation plan is actually too high. If you wanted to, you could do it by gross profits. So it needs to be either you need to pay out 5% of sales or 10% of gross. Now let's talk about parts counter personnel. Let's pay them a bonus based upon their parts and service gross profit, based on all repair orders, and also pay a bonus based upon shop productivity. And before I go into the department managers, so for a parts counter person, really you can pay them three areas: a third, a third, a third. Let's pay them a third salary. Then let's pay them a third based upon the parts and service gross profit generated. And let's have a third of their pay based on shop productivity. So think about that. That is going to raise their awareness and have them want to help shop productivity as much as possible, as well as our parts and service gross profit. I'll be more than happy to share pay plans with you. You can reach out to us later on through our virtual booth that we're going to have, and I'll be more than happy to share pay plans for you for technicians, parts counter people, as well as department managers. And the key on a pay plan, and I failed to mention this a little bit earlier, but a pay plan needs to motivate your personnel in service and parts, because if it doesn't motivate them, quite honestly, it is not helping you as a dealer and or general manager. So pay plan has to motivate. If it's not motivating them, it's the wrong pay plan. So now let's talk about department managers. Department managers, this should be based upon departmental's variable gross profit. There should be a bonus based on technicians' productivity. And for the department managers, we typically say that approximately 40 to 60% of their pay should be salary, and the remainder should be the bonus. What is the position worth? We call it the 60-40 rule. You should prepare a pro forma for that person as to what that position is worth based upon your last year's performance. And do the math as well as to what you are projecting the current year's performance is going to be. What I have found is that some dealers don't do that projection, and therefore when service and parts do increase and grow, now all of a sudden they feel like they're overpaying their people and they end up having a pay cut. You never want to have that meeting to where you have a pay cut. So make sure, do your due diligence, do what the position is worth now based on the prior year's performance, and then project what that position is going to be worth based on your upcoming goals. What is the definition of shop productivity? It's the number of technician flat rate hours actually billed on the repair order divided by the number of clock hours worked. Here's an example. The technician is on the clock for 40 hours in a week and produces 30 hours on the repair orders. So if you go through and do the math, we take 30 hours that were billed divided by 40 hours that were worked. It equals 75% shop productivity. Is 100% shop productivity important to you? Absolutely it is. We have found that by good compensation for both the service technician, the service manager, and service advisors, if you have that position, by having the right pay plans in place, we have seen lots of shops hit 100% shop productivity. So why are so many technicians performing below 100% productivity? It's a lack of commitment to the service department by owners and general managers. And I don't mean that as a cut. What I do mean is that most owners and GMs came up through the sales side of the business, understand the sales side of the business extremely well. What they don't realize and fully understand is how much gross profit is generated by each technician. And remember my example that I showed you earlier and how much gross profit goes up with technician productivity? Technicians are not an expense. They are a gross profit generator. By adding another technician, provided you have the additional work, only increases gross profits. It does not decrease. Expenses do not go down. I apologize, I'm sorry. Expenses do go down because gross profits go up by adding technicians when you have the work. Lack of accountability for performance. I have found in a lot of stores, the lack of accountability performance falls in several areas. One, our service manager is not holding our technicians accountable. Is the tail wagging the dog? And I have found that a lot of guys say, well, Ken, if I really hold my guys accountable, then they're going to quit. And I totally disagree. You've got to hold people accountable in the proper way. We need to set goals for those people. We need to share why those goals are important to them, to our customers, and to the well-being of the dealership. And then we need to give those people feedback as they are going through on a daily basis. So very, very important to have accountability between management and technicians, as well as having accountability between the dealer general manager with the service and parts managers and advisors and technicians. Lack of performance-based pay plans that motivate and reward employees for higher performance. Also, lack of proper equipment for technicians. We have found in a lot of stores, if they don't have the right equipment to go through and do the work, it is going to greatly impact their productivity, as well as fixing the units right the first time. Lack of salesmanship by the advisor. Is the advisor or the manager communicating and selling to those customers using features and benefits to build value so that your customers truly understand why those repairs are important and should be performed? Lack of timely parts delivery to technicians. Very important. In a lot of cases, I see parts people that aren't that busy, maybe sitting around or standing, not doing very important things, but yet they have a part that's ready to go to a technician. Why not deliver it to that technician, keep him in the bay and working? Next, lack of an inspection process. And I referred to this earlier, but it's very important that we have a multi-point inspection or courtesy inspection that we want to do on every customer's trailer every single time and advise the customers accordingly. Remember, by doing that, we're going to increase sales, which is going to increase technicians' productivity. Lack of maintenance menus. We talked about that earlier. Got to have maintenance menus so that we can present those to every customer every time using features and benefits to build value. That menu needs to be printable as well as emailable. Do any of the above apply to your dealership? You should have all of these situations and items in place for your technicians. How can you improve your shop productivity? Owner and management team must make a commitment to change. There's an old saying, if you continue to do what you've always done, you'll continue to get what you've always got. Obviously, that's a true statement. Well, here's another statement that I like. Amateurs practice until they get it right. However, pros practice until they can't get it wrong. And I want to repeat that. Pros practice until they can't get it wrong. That is so important. How much are we practicing? Is it one time that we work on a phone script or one time that we work on a menu sale and or a courtesy inspection? We need to practice, practice, practice until it can't go wrong. Would you benefit from a personal trainer working with your team every month? By training your team in the art of putting your customers first, you will improve repair event cycle time. You will exceed customers' expectations. You will build owner retention in CSI. You will increase technician productivity. You will measure performance daily, maximize net profits, and have 100% accountability training will put your managers in control. That brings us to the end of our presentation. I would like for you all to come visit our virtual booth. Let Dealer Pro help you make 2021 your best year by increasing service and parts gross profits, increase net profits, improve customer retention, improve employee satisfaction. Our virtual booth hours are Monday through Friday from 9 to 2 Eastern, October 26th through November 23rd. Again, I apologize for the slow internet connection. I hope this came out well for all of you. I look forward to talking with you both on the virtual booth, but in addition to that, feel free to email and or contact me. This is my cell. Feel free to email or contact me anytime. I'll be glad to share information with you. And as I mentioned earlier, we have pay plans for both technicians, service advisors, service managers, and I'll be glad to share any information from this. Make 2021 your best year in fixed ops. Take care and make it a great day.